Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the CAF News, where we explore cutting-edge technology shaping our world and affecting us as architects, and how we as architects can affect the world around us. Past few weeks, there's been a lot of groundbreaking advances, of course, in AI, a lot of milestones and crucial shifts in the industry. We'll unpack some of these developments. Talk a little bit about, of course, OpenAI's new ChatGPT 5, and touch on education as it's sort of, the fall season for conferences, upskilling. How's that sound to you, Bryce?
I think that's an excellent agenda. Let's start. ChatGPT 5 is out. We've used it a lot. I've been using it a lot. I have an upcoming book, Digital Momentum, and I found ChatGPT 5 really has some nice features that I've been able to use, and I really love it. So some of the highlights, of course, are it's multimodal. It produces better diagrams than it ever has, and it takes various types of input. So I've been able to use this to build out very high resolution diagrams for the book going forward. So it's been a huge boon for me for doing that.
Oh yeah, how's your book going?
It's going great. It's getting ready for publication. We're just getting it publisher ready. We've got some great feedback on it, and we're doing a discussion sort of based on the book for the Chief Architect Forum on the transformation trap. We're looking, I think it's October 23rd. We'll be talking about that. And really, it's talking about all the blind spots and issues when people are looking at digital transformation, how to avoid them, and what are the questions that you should talk to your CIO about if you're looking at a digital transformation. So coming along great. I hope people get a chance to join us on October 23rd for that seminar. I think it's going to be really great.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. If you're a member already of the Chief Architect Forum, keep an eye out for that. And if you're not a member, by all means, chiefarchitectforum.org, apply. Join us.
Absolutely. And going back to ChatGPT, the new features are awesome. Like one of the things that I've been able to do with the book is review it, but I can actually, with ChatGPT 5, you can give it a Word document and have it annotate and create like basically a formatted Word document that's annotated based on the one that you give it. So rather than
the actual document or return a different document back to you?
It's a different document, but it keeps all the key things like figures, in place, footnotes, and notes, things like that, which are a real pain if you just sort of were cutting and pasting and trying to, okay, what do you think of this? Versus,
well, I hadn't thought of that, and now, especially when you're mentioning, some people have Word documents, and that means it's 3 or 4 or 5 pages. But are you talking about your book? I mean, I know the context window is massive, but is it large enough that you just like throw some monster Word document?
well, that's a great question, because there's two parts to that. The context window before, it's actually a little bit larger, but it wouldn't throw an error if you exceeded it with ChatGPT 4. With ChatGPT 5, it will throw an error if you exceed the context window, and it won't take it in. So it tells you to really watch your content. So in terms of what I'm doing, throwing the whole book in, kind of iffy. Throwing a chapter at a time, like 30 pages, works a lot better.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then are you using just the straight up GPT-5, or are you using it in thinking mode? What
I use the research, depending what I'm doing. I tend to use the research mode a lot in the research side of things.
Yeah.
One area that I found is really great is, you go to ChatGPT 5, it's not going to write a book for you. You can't say, write a book on this. You're not going to get what you want.
No.
Where it really is great, though, is to say, here's an idea that I have, and what do you think of this? Will it work? And you get like a PhD kind of assistant dialogue with that, which is really awesome, which really helped me work through a lot of, I would say, issues. Like the digital momentum is really doing some cutting edge stuff. Some of it's really, I think, a little bit different than people have looked at it. So I wanted to, in that book, go through it and say, are we doing the right things, and question them. And if you just go to your ivory tower architect that's been doing stuff, he'll look at that and he'll say, well, why are you doing that? ChatGPT 5 will say, oh, interesting, and it lets you get into the dialogue and go a little bit down the rabbit hole.
Huh. Okay, yeah, I haven't tried anything like that. One thing I
And
have
of course,
certainly noticed, if
yeah,
you're not using that automatic or instant mode, the thinking mode, I feel like takes a long time to answer.
it does. It, I think we're getting spoiled. Thinking mode can take, like, for me, what seems like 5, 10 minutes. And
Oh, with that much in the context, yeah, I bet.
it's like, I think ChatGPT 4 was always really quick, but was never the same quality. I think the quality with ChatGPT 5 is way up.
Yeah.
Another area that they've really improved is in their diagramming. And I've been able to really leverage that to create the diagrams for the book Digital Momentum. A lot of the work has been done around it. And one of the issues, just to share with everybody on board, one of the big issues I have, and I'll just share one of the figures from the book, actually, if that's all right.
Yeah,
We
please,
were,
by all means.
we were talking about this, and can you see that, Kevin?
Yes. Hmm.
So, you look at the figure, great illustration, it took a lot of iterations. And the problem that I was having is if you look in this version, if you look in the lower right-hand corner,
Yeah.
there's a spelling mistake.
Yeah.
When I first did this, there were a lot more spelling mistakes. And so the question is, how do I get ChatGPT to produce exactly what I want, avoid the spelling mistakes, and get a really crisp, high resolution, publish ready image?
Yeah.
And the answer is, I was talking to a colleague at who's also an author. He's doing some work at MIT, and he got back to me and said, "Oh, that's really easy. What I do," and I apologize, I can't remember his name offhand, but what he does is he'll take either the image as input or his initial verbal description. He'll go ChatGPT, give me a prompt so that I get the image, so I get a figure with correct spelling that's based on this image. And ChatGPT will give you a prompt that if you then run, will give you a crisp image that you're looking for.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, sort of meta prompting.
Meta prompting.
I think
Lots of stuff
that's
there. Yeah. And then the
yeah.
multimodal stuff is really awesome too. So the other thing I was doing just for the fun of it, I wanted to get a theme song for the book Digital Momentum. And I said, Chat GPT, can you give me a theme song? Here's kind of what I'm looking for. And what it does is it gives you the prompts so that you can go to one of the other tools
Oh, to generate
to
music.
generate it. And
Yes.
maybe we'll play that. Maybe even get our own CAF news. You know what? For next time, I will get us a CAF news theme song. We'll see where it
Perfect.
lands, Kevin. Yeah.
A turning point. That's good. That's interesting. When you're talking about throwing in your entire book, it makes me wonder about, and that it's significantly outperforming what GPT-4 was able to do.
Yeah.
There's always talk about AI integration within architecture, enterprise
Oh,
architecture,
yeah.
generate a Mermaid JS diagram or a Plant UML diagram or this or that. Um, and of course, you can do that, with a smaller code base, but would you be able to do that at larger and larger and larger scales with larger and larger context windows? And then would it be able to be reasoning about these things, rethinking processes, workflows, automations, user interactions? I don't know. Does the scalability of the context window
Great question. So
let you handle that
let me
sort of
flip that around a
complexity?
bit. I think if you say to, because I tried it, a few months ago, if you sit down with, well, it was ChatGPT 4 and I've tried it with ChatGPT 5 and you say, write me a book about, it doesn't really come up with really good material.
No. Yeah.
It gives you a book. Don't get you, it gives you a very small, but it doesn't give you the 200 pages. It's like a short, probably one of those mini ones that you could sell on Kindle, for your $5 or whatever. Uh, it does a great job of that. But here's the thing is I think you still have to be very specific with what you're doing, and you almost have to ruthlessly assign your ChatGPT session a role and almost view it like a specialist agent.
Oh
So
yeah.
one of the techniques a lot of people are doing in the prompt is, oh, ChatGPT, you're a book editor. From the perspective of a book editor, please review this chapter. And then you start to get way better responses. Of course, another area is on the small side a real practical thing that I've been doing with the integration course, and we can talk about the education side, but we wanted to have in our integration course, we wanted to talk about code bases and coding it. And the first time I delivered, an integration course, about 4 years ago, actually, we brought in examples with code that we were working on, Visual Studio. I think we were using C# at the time. And to do that in class, things got really bogged down doing coding and having, the architect students work on codes, and some are like senior developers. What we've done instead is go to ChatGPT, say, generate the UML, and it will generate code for something like plant UML, which you can then take and generate your, scenario diagrams and your sequence diagrams and stuff, and your class diagrams. And so you can get some nice UML artifacts, which is really a good level to talk about integration in a course. That's what we did on the last iteration when we delivered our integration architecture course. And so there's that tie-in again to ChatGPT, which I think is really excellent.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, it makes me wonder how far, we would be from like feed in the board's goals and, vision, mission, goals, the last 3 years of annual reports, the business strategy, the IT strategy, and the business capability map, and try to be able to query it at an enterprise level. Should just try it, I guess.
So what I'm hearing the question out of that, Kevin, is can you use ChatGPT 5 as a TOGAF architecture editor of some sort? Great experiment. I'm going to have to check that out. See
it could be framework agnostic. I don't know, but yeah, I'm sure it would be happy to render it in TOGAF terminology or Zachman taxonomy or however. But it'd be interesting to see how far it could start informing principles and reasonable, important guardrails if you fed it projects that are in flight and different things that portfolio rationalization should be click of a button, I suppose.
Well, there's a lot of the adoption of chat and AI tools to deal with legacy code going forward. And I think that brings us, almost to our next topic, which is, you're an architect today. Has the educational bar for architects today changed significantly in the last 10 years? Do you see, and let me ask you this question. I'm going to go right out, Kevin. Do you see value in architects getting certified, doing something like, ISO Global certification, foundation level, professional level, distinguished level? What are your thoughts on that? And then there's a lot of different types of education. So the second part of the question, Kevin, is where do you think an architect should invest that? Should he be taking specialty vendor courses? Should he be taking architecture courses that are more general? And what about soft skills? A lot in there. What's your philosophy on education going forward?
Yeah, it's interesting. The positive view would be there's nowhere to go but up. I think it's been so ragtag and haphazard, sort of ad hoc. At some point, you realize, gosh, I guess I'm not a developer anymore. I'll throw that architect label on, on my badge, or it's given to you, at your place of work. People are promoted both before they're ready and long after they're ready. And common for both of those is that there isn't one standardized, just career development path and educational programming for it. It's something that Chief Architect Forum that we work on quite a bit. Sean McCarthy there is working on the educational programming to standardize and to make sure that, yes, if you're calling yourself an architect, if you're a software architect, you have these skills, these competencies. If you're a solution architect, you've built on and added on these. If you're an enterprise architect, it's, more holistic skill development. Of course, there's deep technology, but the higher up that ladder you go, soft skills like communication, collaboration are crucial to stakeholder management and outcomes. So yeah, I mean, I like the approach of ISA, the certifications there with the business technology architect body of knowledge, the BITABAC, where it's not owned by any one vendor or any somewhat closed, the Open Foundation has done great work, but how do I get to add to TOGAF? I don't really. IBM, E&Y, any of these, any of the big consultancies have their own versions and train their people with their own, kind of frameworks and educational assets, but they're very tailored to their delivery models and what their customers want and need. So I really like the idea of the profession generating and collaborating and managing those assets and defining what the key competencies are and what the process is for certification and accreditation and the different levels, from associate to distinguished. I think that's a really good path forward from a place where there has been no path, really.
I think you're really hitting a great point. And the other thing that comes out with education, to me, and you touched this a little bit with your reference to competencies, there is a difference to me between going in a course, sitting online, taking the course, and getting my certificate that I've completed something, versus actually doing something a little bit more practical, maybe a workshop-oriented course, which is where a lot of the ISA training is focused towards, is building out skills that an architect should have that are sort of the core skills, and making those available. And doing that in a way that there's somebody that actually has done it, like a mentor. And so it's not just you're out running, you've read the course, I do something, I write my novel, and it turns out that whatever I'm doing with that information is nice, but it's not grounded in reality. But having that mentor, I found, has been really useful. And in my case, I've had as a mentor Jim Wilt, and he has been absolutely excellent. Yeah, like along the way. And it goes back for me, back to my time at Microsoft when I met. And it's the idea, and the other thing that I found is going through that approach has given me a great deal of self-confidence in dealing with executives and the communication, because I know what I'm doing now is right. I know that somebody who's actually been in a real company would advocate for that approach. Yeah. And I think that's important.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that is important for you to sort of be able to both stand your ground and have belief in and confidence in your background and approach. And if it is based on one kind of profession approved set of assets, then you also get that benefit of things looking a little bit more standardized, the same kind of language, the same kind of tools that people are using, which I think helps a lot, a common language and toolkit to tackle.
And that's a huge benefit, even if you don't have a competency course. If you're going towards what I would call more of a toolkit course, sort of like when I did, TOGAF Foundation, for instance, right? There's your TOGAF model. There's how you apply it. There's the reference models. There's what you're going to do. There's your architecture development method and how to apply it. Yes. Huge stuff, right? And it's not about a competency, but it still gives everybody a common language. So I do see value in that type of course. I see value in the competency type of course. And the other type that I see value in is it's almost the vendor specific course, but that are aimed a little bit more generally, that provide general understanding. And, for me, a great example, I took recently the NVIDIA infrastructure and operations course. And there was a lot of stuff about NVIDIA in there, I guess, right? Which is nice, but a lot of stuff about GPUs, how they apply to deep learning and stuff also, which I found really useful. So I think it's a mix of these things to bring an architect up to speed for what he needs in his role, I think is really important.
Right. Yeah, I agree. NVIDIA is not a sponsor of this podcast, although they should be.
Good point.
But I've heard that those are really good, actually, that their material is really good.
Yeah, if they were a sponsor, we would have to disclose that, of course. So good call, Kevin.
That's fine. But yeah, I mean, we should be filming this on, exotic locations, fine hotels and
Live in I don't know where NVIDIA's headquarters is. It's like San Francisco or
I
something.
don't
Or
either. Maybe, yeah, that would make sense.
yeah, we have yeah, that'd be really cool. So if there's
Yeah.
anybody on the call, from NVIDIA, we are open to sponsorships.
Yes.
We're not beyond that. Absolutely.
We already mention them quite often, but we can be bribed. Yeah.
Yeah, and that goes to the other point. We can be bribed maybe, but can something like when you're looking at producing architects and building a profession, it raises a really good question. How do you make sure that what the architect is doing is in the best interest of the community and the company, not necessarily the vendor? And I think
that's the whole point, I think, of having an open source body of knowledge that's used for training. It's vetted.
Like, like you were saying, you can go into like, how do we change TOGAF? Not really sure. Maybe we can. I don't know. In the case of ISA Global, there is a clear path and a lot of people that are contributing to that.
Yeah.
So it's a great opportunity. We need to follow up this discussion down the road. Great discussion as always, Kevin. And I think maybe we should even bring on some guests as we go forward in some of these areas to our CAF News forum, if you're up to that, maybe in some of the future episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be really fun. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone. We look forward to your feedback. Please comments below. Let us know your thoughts on architecture education, thoughts, questions, feedback. And if you've used ChatGPT 5, let us know what your thoughts are compared to 4. Is it moving forward? And we're going to be getting a lot more into this in the new year. Thanks again, Kevin.
All right, great. See you, everybody.